There we go. You can find us on YouTube. Just do a search for Pass Wit. Our homepage, wit.sqlpass.org, or now wit.pass.org works. If you join the virtual group, you'll get our monthly newsletter. You'll get emails that tell you any session that's upcoming. When you register for it, you will get reminders. Please follow us on Twitter at @pass_wit and follow and use the PassWit hashtag. If you find interesting information that you like, we have a few SQL Saturdays coming up that have women speakers and a couple of WIT sessions. So Houston, Dublin, I have no idea how to say that city and I won't butcher it, Chattanooga, and Atlanta this year has 13 different speakers that are female or WIT sessions. Upcoming webinars tomorrow, Kathy Kellenberger, my co-leader, is presenting a session on Kerberos delegation for SSRS Made Easy. Our July session, Melissa Coates, designing a modern data warehouse and data lake. Andrea Masher will be doing a WIT unconscious bias in the workplace session, and then Chrissy will be doing creating and maintaining successful open source projects. Today's session is by Jes Borland, Busy is a 4-letter word, and obviously you guys know about the session if you're here today. So I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it over to her, although I'm getting a message that says somebody can't see the screen. So
I can see the screen.
The broadcast is now starting.
There
All
we go.
attendees are in listen-only mode.
Got it. That was me. See, I couldn't find that button earlier. There are some days are better than other days, Jess.
I hear you on that.
So let me cover this really quickly. Again, everybody can take a look at this screen. We have upcoming webinars. Kathy Kellenberger's tomorrow. Kerberos delegation for SSRS. Melissa Coates is in July. Andrea Masher is doing an unconscious bias. And Chrissy Lamiere is doing her session for us in October. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Jess at this point.
All right, let me share my correct monitor. And Ree, can you just verify that you can see the title slide? And welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to attend my session. Busy is a 4-letter word. My name is Jes Borland. My bio slide that was shown earlier is a little out of date. So I recently joined Microsoft as a premier field engineer. I work as a trusted advisor for my clients, dealing with support for SQL Server, training for SQL Server, solving the hard problems with a focus on SQL Server Engine. I'm also an avid runner and a big bookworm. I just went on vacation and finished reading a full 2 books somehow on all of those flights and at night. And what I'd also like you to know is that my name tag used to say, "Hello, my name is Busy." Because if it sounds like I'm not busy enough, right? Between work and running and, those of you that know me know I run my local user group. I also speak at a lot of conferences. Occasionally I blog. We've all got home and family stuff, but I'm much better than I used to be. I'm a busy person in recovery at this point. When I think back about it, like 10 years ago, right, I worked full-time. I was still going to school. So I was going to school part-time, taking 2 or 3 classes every semester. I was on the board of directors for my local JC's, the Junior Chamber of Commerce, which is, a community service organization. So I was attending multiple meetings a month. I was running events, etc. And then on top of all of that, I was also planning a wedding. So that was the way I lived my life, right? If you want something done, get a busy person to do it. Fast forward then to about 5 years ago, right? I'm done with school, but I'm working full-time. I got really involved in the SQL Server community, which, by the way, I don't regret, not for a minute. I never will. It's been fantastic, but I was, working full-time. I was blogging probably 2 or 3 nights a week for a couple hours a night. I was working on multiple presentations. I was training for my first marathon, and I will tell you, if you think running 26.2 miles is a lot of work, you got to think about the 3 months before that when you're running 20 or 18 or 15 miles every weekend before that. I still had, family and friends and a house and a dog, all of that stuff that needed to be kept up with. Here's the thing. I was exhausted. I was tired all the time. I was never fulfilled. But that's what I thought was exciting and wonderful, right? Like if you want something done, get a busy person to do it. I had to say yes to everything to accomplish some big goal. So think about that. How many of us are busy? And is that a good thing? I don't think so. See, I look at the word disease and I really think that in our modern lives, being busy is a disease. Look at that definition, a condition that impairs normal functioning manifested by distinguishing signs and symptoms. What happens when we get too busy? Is our normal function impaired? Absolutely. We're not getting enough sleep, which is necessary, especially for me, just to not be a cranky, terrible human being to most people. We're not getting good sleep. We may not have time to take care of ourselves properly through things like eating well and physical exercise, or just having time to recharge, having time to spend good quality time with friends and family and people we love, recharging our batteries. Today we're just, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep every night, right, we're just constantly bombarded with our phones, our tablets, our computers, our televisions. We have, another website that we need to go out to read. We have one more restaurant that someone posted a picture of on Instagram that we have to go eat at. We have one more Netflix show that someone at the office is talking about that we have to binge watch. We see another person that on Twitter that spoke at a cool conference, and we think we have to be there too. This is truly a disease. It's us not being comfortable. It's not taking care of ourselves. In the disease of being busy, the question that I like to start with is this. Why is it that we are measuring our worth by how much we're doing rather than by the value of what we do? Why has being busy become the new keeping up with the Joneses? What I want you to do after this session is to start reflecting not on doing more, but on doing less and doing it better, right? It's quality over quantity. And that was the thing that I struggled with for a very long time. It is, and it really came to a head for me about 3 years ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago now, but I gave something along the lines of like 30 presentations in a year. That's a lot. That's 2 or 3 every single month for a whole year. I think in one month I had done 5 presentations, and that's a lot of work because you're writing the presentations, you're delivering them, you're giving the time away to answer the questions afterwards, making sure slides are posted. And while I love presenting, I got to the point about 2/3 of the way through the year where I realized I was doing a terrible job, right? My quality was slipping. I was, I'd come in on Monday, I'd look at my calendar, I have to give a presentation on Tuesday. My slides aren't ready, I haven't looked through it, my demos aren't good to go, right? That's just one example of measuring how much I was doing rather than by the value of it and the quality of it. and I had to pull back a little bit. But it was like that on all cylinders for me, and I'm sure at times in our life it's been that way for everyone. What we want to instead do is follow the words of Omid Safu as he says, tell me that you remember you are still a human being, not just a human doing. In his excellent blog post, which is linked to in these slides and I'll share with you, he talks about many of the same things that I'm talking about today, the disease of being busy. But this is a key point from it. We are human beings. We need to be. We need to have time to spend with loved ones. We need to have time to reflect internally about how we feel about things, what we want for ourselves. But if we're busy, we don't have time for that. So what we want to work towards after attending this session today, I want you to think about how you can go from being busy to being bored. Who remembers back to summer vacation from school when they were a kid and thinking, I'm bored? You know, you ran out of games to play, you ran out of bike rides to take, you ran out of books to read, you ran out of new cartoons to watch. Maybe kids these days don't do that with Netflix and YouTube, but I certainly did. And now as an adult, when's the last time that you had a chance to just sit on your porch and think, gosh, I'm bored. I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend. I have a few hours where I can just sit and think, or sit and take care of myself, or sit and have a long, deep conversation with someone I love about how their life is. It's important for us to do that. It's necessary for us to do that. So how do we go about from being busy to being bored? Well, the first thing we need to do, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, why are we so busy? This is really important, right? We need to be able to identify what it is that we are trying to accomplish by being so busy. Once we know that, we can start kind of solving that problem. Now, there's three big reasons I find that I am intrinsically motivated to do things, right? There's three big reasons I find that I am always saying yes and that I am always busy. So the first one, when we're young, we're always told to say yes, right? Saying yes is easy. Saying yes makes us feel good, and it makes other people feel good. Saying yes helps people. Saying yes does not disappoint people in the short term. So many times, yes can just be our default answer. Either it's easy, or on the other hand, we don't take the time to think about what's involved in a request when we say yes to it. So think about that. Are you so busy because you are the yes person? Or, like me, is your feeling that if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it? While it can be nice to feel wanted and appreciated and everyone wants your help, it can result in us having that disease, right, where we're not performing optimally and where we're really not our best selves. One thing we need to learn with this then is, if we are constantly saying yes, if we are that yes person, how are we going to say no? And we'll cover that later in this session. Another reason I find for myself and other people that we've become this really, truly busy person is we are letting other people's successes be our failures. I do this a lot. It is very hard for me to look at other people and see something like, well, that person, just as an example, as I'm walking around my office giving you my talk, looking at my running medals on the wall from the marathons and half marathons I've run, right? It can be really easy for me to look at something on Twitter or Facebook and think, gosh, that person ran a half marathon in under 2 hours and it was their first one and I've been running them for 7 years and I've never made that, and so I should spend all my time focusing on doing that. Or gosh, that person, they made Microsoft MVP, or they got to speak at a specific conference that I've been wanting to, and I've been putting in just as much work and I didn't get that honor. What do I need to do? Do I need to work harder? But at the same time, I don't step back and think things like, I've had the opportunity to, run a race with my best friend, or I've had the opportunity to just be able to run 5 half marathons in the last year. That's something other people may not have as their success, and it's something that's important to me. So one of the biggest things that I've had to learn is to set my own goals and let that be my success and my failure, not letting other people's successes be my goals. The other thing that I like to remind people of when it comes to this and being busy and looking at what other people are doing is that you simply don't know what's going on in their life. Everyone that you look at is fighting some battle that you know nothing about. Think about someone that, think about someone at work. Maybe they got a promotion and you think, oh, they're working so hard and they got the promotion. I need to work that hard. Well, how do you know that that person doesn't have some problems at home that means they're avoiding it and they're throwing all their time into work so they don't have to think about other things? You look at someone traveling all over and you think, gosh, I wish that I could be doing that. I want to be doing that all the time. And you may not realize that they're visiting a sick family member or running away from something. Everyone has a battle that you don't see. So comparing yourself to other people, trying to do everything that another person or other people do is not why we want to be busy. That's only harmful to us. So how do we get away from that? Well, later on we'll talk about how we define, what we want to be doing, what our priority is. And the third reason that I see for people being busy, and this was particularly true of me when I was younger, is I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I enjoyed. So I threw myself into everything. I want to do community service because I think that I should be volunteering. I want to do professional development because I think I should be speaking. I think I should be a blogger. I think I should be a book author. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I might as well give it a try. When it comes to stuff at home, I should probably run and I should bike, and I should do yoga, and I should weight lift. I should be cooking, and I should be cleaning, and I should have a woodworking hobby, right? We don't know what it is that we want, so we do everything. My advice to people that use this as their reason for being a busy person, for doing a lot of different things, is if that's you, it's definitely time to say no to things, to step back from things and really figure out who you are and what it is that you want. And how do you do that? Again, we'll go through how we go from being busy to being bored. So that's the first step again. In being busy, it's really identifying why. Why is it? Are we just being that yes person? Are we looking at other people? Or are we just trying to find out what it is that we like and what we want? So how did I go from being busy to being bored? Well, I think it first came down to a couple of years ago, probably 2 or 3 years ago, like I mentioned, with giving a lot of presentations and, trying to balance community service and home and family and athletics and all of these things that I loved, that I was just doing too much. And a friend recommended a book. So Sarah, if you're listening, thank you for all of those years ago recommending the book Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. I loved this book. The book's major philosophy is that most of us are taking the energy and the time that we do have, and we're spreading it out amongst multiple things. So we're not going big on one thing, right? Go big or go home. We're spreading our limited energy across multiple things, and we're not making the biggest impact we could. The focus is to set a priority and put all of our effort into that and make a big difference in one thing, that one essential thing that priority. And having this to focus on has helped me go from being a busy person who does a lot of things to being a semi-busy but sometimes bored person who has a priority that I am working towards. So how do we do that? We need to start curing our disease of being busy. The steps to take. And this is where you're going to need to start doing some introspection. As I've mentioned, identifying why is an important part. But this is where your homework comes in. And this is homework. I know you guys are thinking this is a professional development topic. Why does Jess have stuff for me to do? But sometime in the next week, I'd like you to pull out a notebook and a pencil, and I do mean paper and pencil. Turn off Twitter, turn off your phone, don't look at your email, and sit down and think about what you're doing. And then sit down and think about what you want to be doing. And then we're going to set a priority. Let me walk you through some of my examples with this. So what I'm doing, when I started out with this, I had to think about a lot of things because I categorize what I'm doing into 3 major categories. One of the big things is work. This does take up a lot of time, and it is so easy for it to take up too much time. It's easy for us, especially at work, to say yes, right? There's the projects we need to be doing. There are projects that sound fun that we want to be doing. There's learning about what's coming next. And then there's that thing that our manager tells us we have to do. There's that thing that someone else on the team didn't do, and so we think we could pick up the slack. You have to sit down and you have to list all of that stuff out. And when I went through this, I was thinking, gosh, I want to be good with SQL Server, and not just SQL Server Engine. I mean, think about it. There's high availability and disaster recovery. There's performance tuning. Azure was just becoming a big thing. I was trying to pass the building a data warehouse with SSIS exam. I was thinking I really need to learn more about reporting services. It was a lot, right? There were just so many things that I was trying to do all at the same time. And when you have 40 hours in a week and you're trying to do 40 things, you get 1 hour on each of them. If I could maybe narrow that down to doing 4 things in 40 hours, I can spend more time on each of them and do it better. And again, work is just one small thing. There's everything at home too. This is also a big part of our lives. Think about all of the things that we have to do, right? And on top of that, all of the things we could be doing. I'm married. I have a relationship that I have to maintain. You may have children. Again, being a parent, huge responsibility, takes a lot of time. I own a house. There are things that have to be done, like cleaning it every week, mowing the lawn, or shoveling the snow. I know, don't have to shovel snow, you're very lucky. What about, house projects as well? Putting in a garden, finishing a basement. Just that's a lot of time as well. Plus, I want some downtime at home. I don't mind sitting on the couch for an hour every night before I go to bed and reading. But if I'm too busy to do that, I'm not happy. And then on top of that, there's hobbies, right? What we do for fun. And I don't know if you're like me, but I have had way too many hobbies, right? Like I love so many things. I love, as I've mentioned, and if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know this, I love athletics, right? Running, biking, yoga, weightlifting. I love reading. I love writing. I love traveling. I love camping. I love hiking. I love kayaking. I love snowshoeing. I want to cook dinner every night. I want to bake bread every weekend. I still want to volunteer in my local community, and I want to volunteer for the SQL community. I tried to learn violin at one point in time because I thought it was important, but I also have a musical talent. So what you have to sit down and do for that first step to go from being busy to being bored is break it down something like this. Doesn't have to be exactly like this, but really sit down and just list out everything that you're doing. You may not realize how much stuff you have. What committees are you on at work? What, are you on a board of directors in your community? Are you on your HOA? Are you on your kids' PTA? Are you on a softball league? Do you have a dart league? Right? All of these things are taking up our time. All of these things are part of what's making us busy. So after we've identified what we're doing, then we have to identify what do we want to be doing. So go through that list and figure out, okay, at work, out of all of the projects that you have, the projects that you want, the projects that got dumped on you, and all of those exciting new things that are coming in SQL Server and programming and Azure, what do you really want to be focusing your time on? When I sat and looked at my list of all the things I was working on, all the projects at work, all the things I was trying to learn, I realized, what I really wanted to focus on was not integration services. It was not reporting services. I really wanted to get good with, things like high availability and disaster recovery. I really wanted to get better at performance tuning, and I really wanted to dig into Azure. Those were the things I was truly passionate about. Those were the things I was really interested in. When it came to all the stuff that I want to do at home, right, family time is always a priority, and it has to be. So spending time with the family, going to holidays, having people over for dinner, that's important. When I thought about other things, making dinner every night, for me, that's something I love. And I get it, not everybody loves cooking, but I realize that that's what I want to be doing. I want to make sure that I build time in to my day to be able to relax after work that way. Cleaning the house and mowing the yard, those need to be done, and I really like having a clean house, and I really like having a nicely mowed yard. Then there's that big question mark of house projects, right? What do I actually need done? And do I have to do it myself? Thinking, do I want to garden? Yes, I love having fresh vegetables in the summer, and I love having frozen and canned stuff in the winter. Do I need to have a finished basement? Well, maybe not. But those are the things that I crossed off a bunch of other stuff, right? I don't need to be doing all of those other little things like the sewing machine that's still sitting in my living room that needs to be put away, or a bunch of other little stuff. And when it came to hobbies, I realized I like biking, and I like some cross-country skiing and all that other stuff, but what really truly makes me happy is running. I love running. I love distance running. And there are some other things that fit in really nicely with that. I really love trail running, so camping and being outdoors, those are things that can go hand in hand with that. Those are the things that I want to be doing. Playing the violin was cool, right? Yeah, I was terrible at it, but it didn't make me happy. I crossed that off my list of what I wanted to be doing, and I canceled my lessons. It was really important for me to take that, to realize that, right? To just have that moment of, I'm supposed to be doing this, that's what I say, but I don't like it. So after you've gone through and written this list of everything you're doing in all of these categories, you go through and circle the things you want to be doing or cross off the things you don't want to be doing. Heck, you might even have something to add to this list of what you want to be doing that you're not right now. And it's okay to add that in. Because after you've gone through and you've listed what you want to be doing, you really have to go even further and make some cuts. As Greg McCown says in the book Essentialism, what we really need to do is pick a priority, not priorities. Priority is a singular word. A priority is one thing that above all others is what we are striving for. Having a priority is what will keep us focused and keeps us happy. Now, I'd love to say I can always have just one for each of these categories. It's not quite true, but again, it's that goal that I strive to. So what about work? What did I pick as my priority? Well, a couple of years ago, I said, I'm going to invest in Azure. I'm going to invest in learning it. I'm going to invest in using it. And I'm going to invest in teaching others about it. And that's paid huge dividends for me. I love that. I know a fair amount about Azure. There's always something new to learn every single day. Something changes. There's a new service that comes out. Something gets deprecated. But that is what I chose to focus on. And it has served me well. And I am glad that I didn't keep trying to pass the 70-463 exam, because it was really frustrating. And having more opportunities with SSIS and data warehousing wasn't a big thing for me in the last couple of years. So my big priority has been Azure. And how does that tie into other things I like high availability and disaster recovery? How does using Azure tie into things like performance tuning? It's all related. That's the priority I picked, and I keep driving at it. When it came to home, what did I realize? That limited amount of time should be spent with the people, not the things in my house. So you know what? Don't ever tell my mother. I know she's not listening. I got someone to clean my house. I pay someone to clean my house every 2 weeks. That was a hard decision to make. I struggle with that. I think, we're a couple of adults. We don't have kids. We could probably do this on our own. But if I'm spending, 3 hours in a weekend vacuuming and scrubbing toilets and washing windows, that's 3 hours that I can't spend with family, or that I can't spend being bored. Same thing for mowing the lawn. I know people that have a lawn service come, particularly in the summer, maybe hire a teacher or a school kid to do it, and take back that time. If it's not something that you truly enjoy, if it's something that takes away from your priority, don't do it. And even when it comes to hobbies, right? I've had to really narrow down my focus. I realized that, last summer I was trying to train for running a half marathon, and I was trying to train for a century bike ride. That's 100 miles. It's not as bad as it seems, I promise. And I wanted to lift weights too, and I realized I was just doing too much. What is it that I love? I love running. And what is it that I love doing? I love running in the woods. So my priority now is trail running. I'm focusing on an ultra marathon. And I run a lot, but that's been my focus. I still do some cycling. It's my cross training. I still do some yoga. It's my cross training. But training for a trail ultra marathon is my priority. I say no to doing a triathlon. Even if it's a sprint distance, even if it's just 2 hours on a Saturday, it's 2 less hours that I could take towards running in the woods. It fits in nicely with other things. Those hobbies that I want to do, like camping, this just works really well for me, because I can get up in the morning, run in the woods, come back, sit at my campsite, hang out with the family. So it's all about really picking that one big thing and working towards it. And those are just my priorities, right? That may not be what you choose. It doesn't have to be, but it's about looking at what you're doing in your life and realizing what you want to be doing and then getting there. The hard part about this is, once we've picked our priority, we actually have to get rid of other things. We have to toss things out. And then what's going to be even harder after that is that we have to say no to bringing on other things. So when it comes to tossing things out, we have to learn to quit. Yes, in order to go from being busy to being bored, we have to learn how to quit. Now, in my world, busy is a 4-letter word, but quit is not a 4-letter word. We're taught that it's bad. We're taught that we should always follow through with things. But sometimes our life circumstances change, right? Sometimes we might take on something that we fully intended to do and a family member gets sick and we can't commit time to it anymore. Sometimes we change jobs and that's a big change. Sometimes we get started on something and we realize we hate it. Here's an example. About 2.5 years ago, I was asked to write a book. This was a big deal for me, right? I had been presenting, I had been blogging, I had contributed a chapter to a book, but I thought it would be really neat to have my name on the book. So I worked with the publisher. I wrote up the outline, I wrote up the abstract, sent it in, it got approved. I realized I didn't really want to write the whole thing by myself, so I found a co-author. We started writing, right? I had like 3 chapters outlined and I had a chapter or 2 written. Then I got a new job. So that changed things a little bit more travel, moving around a little bit. And then I realized that this was like 3 months in, I realized I'm spending almost every night during the week and hours on the weekends writing, and I'd sit down to write and I just couldn't get the words out. I had no interest in the topic that I was writing about. I struggled, but I thought I'm going to do this, right? Quitters never win or something like that. I was missing deadlines. I was emailing the editor like, I'll get this in next Friday. I was trying, but I was miserable. I was horribly miserable. I talked to a friend about it, and she said, Jess, you have to quit. It's clearly not the right decision. I waited a couple weeks, but as I was sitting there on a Thursday night probably writing or trying to write, I realized I'm miserable. I don't want to finish this. So I wrote an email to my co-author and told him that I would be unable to complete the book. And I wrote up an email or a formal Word document breaking my contract, put it in an email to the publisher, and then that sat in my drafts folder for about 2 days. I didn't want to quit, right? Quitting is bad. But I was also miserable. But I had a new job that was taking up more time. Eventually, I hit send. The publisher was disappointed. My co-author was disappointed. Heck, I was disappointed. But about a week or 2 later, it was like this huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, right? Like I could suddenly focus on things I enjoyed. I could focus on getting acclimated to the new job. I could start spending time with family and friends again. I will probably never write a book. Not solo, not about anything SQL Server, nothing technical at least. And that's okay. It's okay. Again, quitting is not a 4-letter word. So if you're in something right now that you're doing and you look at your list of what you want to be doing and what your priority is, but you're struggling with the decision to quit something, ask yourself this question. If I weren't already invested in this project, how much would I invest in it now? And that can be your time, that can be your mental energy, that can be your physical energy. Again, as I've mentioned, we may commit to something before we realize how much work it's going to be. We may commit to something that 6 other people are helping us with, and then suddenly 3 of them quit. And, more people are doing, or fewer people are doing more work. Keep that in mind. If you weren't already invested in a project, how much would you invest in it now? And if it's not worth it, quit. Now, just walking in and flipping a table and saying, no, I'm done, may not be the best way to do it. Do it gracefully. Do it politely. Do not burn bridges. Offer to help find a replacement if that's possible. Offer your, I'm sorry, I know this is an inconvenience, but if it's not making you happy, if it is not something you want to be doing, if it is not your priority, it's okay to leave something behind. So now that we've identified what our priority is and we've looked at what we're doing and maybe you quit a couple of things, how do you maintain this list of being bored and not busy? How do you not make sure that you're not just unbusy for 3 months or 6 months, but you continue to keep that level of being more bored than busy? Well, you're going to have to say no. This is hard. Again, we're taught that saying yes is good. Saying yes makes us feel useful. Saying yes makes other people feel happy. But if we always just say yes, if we are that yes person, suddenly we are committing to things that do not fall under our priority. We are committing to things we do not want to be doing. We are probably committing to things we don't even enjoy. Saying no is hard though. How do you say it? Well, there's a few things to think about. First, when thinking about saying no, the biggest advice that I had gotten and that I think works really well is separate the decision from the relationship. Whether it is your manager or a coworker, if it is someone you respect in the SQL Server community or a vendor asking you to help with something, if it's a friend you've had since 3rd grade or your next door neighbor who always watches your kids when you ask, saying no to the opportunity is not the same as saying no to the person. Remember that. Saying no to an opportunity is not the same as saying no to a person. And what I've realized that to that other person, if it is, I don't want that relationship. And you shouldn't either. If someone only likes you and respects you and wants to be around you because they're offloading all their work onto you, because you are their yes person, that's not a healthy relationship. You should be able to say no. So separate the decision and the relationship. Be okay with saying no. Now, how do you say no? It's hard. But let's walk through a few ways to do it. Let's talk about the fact that no can sometimes be a complete sentence. Someone sends you a meeting request. It's for a project you don't know anything about. There's no agenda. It's from 12 to 1 and no lunch is being served. Tell you what, hit decline. Just say no. Chances are they might not even miss you. If neighbor comes over, you want to come and hang out or do this thing this evening? You've got some other plans. Maybe you just want to read a book. Maybe you're just tired from a long day at work. Just say no. No, thank you. Try it sometime. I think, or I at least thought that if I would say no, people would question me nonstop. But you know what? They don't. Sometimes they just accept the word no. Now, what if it's not? Well, let's try another tactic. Particularly if someone comes up to you and asks you something in person. Can you help me with this? Can you help me troubleshoot this problem? Can you be on this committee at school? Do you want to go run with me this weekend? Don't say anything. Just take a deep breath and count to 5. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. And this does a few things. Number one, it gives you some time to think about, do you really want to say yes or do you really want to say no? Start thinking about how you're going to say no, if that's the answer. The other thing I've discovered is that, particularly when doing this at something like work, right, and someone walks up to the desk, it's like, can you help me with this? Just look at them, let them look around, let them see that you have a stack of papers on your desk and 4 chat windows going and you have giant red flags of error messages on your screen, and maybe they look at it and go, maybe you're busy right now. I'll come back later. But sometimes, again, just that quick pause before saying anything else So that person know that maybe you're not going to say yes. Maybe they can look around and see what's going on. Now, maybe no is not the right answer. How about no but? This is what I call the soft no. No but is something I use when I want to say yes, but now is not a convenient time. No but, I'd love to do it later. No but, I can help you find a resource to do that. No but. It's a soft no. Maybe it's a way of saying yes in the long term. This is a really good one, but takes a little bit of practice. Again, this helps, especially when people are asking about things like technical questions. You know, can you help me right now? No, but I can point you to this forum. No, but I know someone that can. Another great tactic. Don't say no.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you really quickly. So, and I just closed the window. Hold on. Let me get back to the question. Okay. I clicked the wrong thing. So, one of the attendees, what about someone that does some things for you, like volunteering to take your own call for special occasions, but then when you're asked, it's not a good time for you? How do you suggest that they handle that? You know, that's quite different than just, hey, I do something extra for me.
I think that really falls under this, right? Like, let me check my calendar. And in something like that, someone has done something for you in the past, and now they want that favor returned. First off, you know, there should never be an expectation that something is returned unless you specifically said, yes, for taking my on-call week, I'll take your next one. In that case, you should have done what's on the current slide, which is check my calendar before that happened. But you can't do it at the moment. Tell them that. Be honest. You know, again, it comes down to separate the decision from the relationship. Yes, I want to help you, but I can't right now because of this. Or just, yes, I'd love to help you, but I can't. I have other things going on. And then try to help them further, right? Maybe you know of someone else that can help them. Maybe there's something else you can do. Help them rearrange hours, find someone else to step in, that sort of thing. That's how I would address that situation. Are there any other questions out there right now?
That one is it so far.
Okay, excellent. So the next thing that I was saying is, again, let me check my calendar is a great way to say no to something. It's a soft no again. You're not saying no. You're letting the person that is asking you to do something know that you might have something else going on. They are not always going to get a yes. They may consider you a thoughtful person for checking to make sure that, yes, you could actually maintain something. I use this a lot. I use this a lot because I get asked to do a lot of things. I get asked to attend a lot of conferences, speak at a lot of SQL Saturdays and code camps. I get asked to do a lot of running races and biking races, and family wants me to go to all the nieces and nephews' soccer games and softball games and all of that. So yes, if you ask me to do something and I say, let me check my calendar, that might be me saying no to you in the long run, but I do legitimately want to look at my calendar and make sure that if it's something I'm interested in, I have time for it. So if you don't know what else to say and you want to say no, and specifically if it's a time thing, say, you know, let me check my calendar. Another great method is, and this one works particularly well with someone at work, maybe asking you to do a project, you know, bump this, this is super important, this has to be done now. Say yes. What should I deprioritize? You know, your manager wants you to pick up something. A coworker wants you to drop what you're doing and help with their problem. Instead of saying, no, I can't do that, or no, I'm too busy, say yes, what should I deprioritize? It makes that other person think about how their request is going to affect your projects and your deadlines, their projects and their deadlines. the business's goals and objectives. So yes, what should I deprioritize is a great way of saying no. And now, another one of my favorites is this. I can't do it, but blank may be interested. I use this a lot with community stuff. I may be asked to write a blog post about a specific topic or present for a user group in person or remotely on a specific topic or just on a specific date. Maybe I already have 3 other presentations that month, or heck, at this point, 1 other a month is good enough for me. Maybe I have other things going on that weekend. I like to say no, but I know someone who might be interested. This works out really well. So for the requester, they don't have to go and find someone else. I'm going to do the work for them. That makes it easy for them. They like that. And then for the person that I am thinking about, for the person that I go to and ask, it makes them feel really good. Now, gosh, Jess had an opportunity. She couldn't do it. She's asking me to help fill her shoes, to help her out. And whether or not they can or can't do it, the person you ask may not always be available. They may say, let me check my calendar. They still are, it's the warm fuzzies. It's the feeling helpful, right? This could be really useful with, again, stuff at the homeowners association, stuff at your kids at school. I can't do it, but blank may be interested. Help other people out. Again, both the person that's asking and the person that you ask will be happy that you're putting in that extra bit of effort. So those are a few strategies for saying no. I hope those are helpful to you, because remember, if you say no and regret it for a few minutes or hours, that's okay, because it's better than saying yes and regretting it for days or weeks or months, like I did when I said yes to writing that book and I should have known it was a bad idea. It's okay to say no. I've given you some different strategies for doing it. Now, how do we actually apply that? Well, start small, right? Think about at work, right? Like I said, just say no, decline a meeting you don't need to attend. Thinking about moving on from there, say no to taking on someone else's deadline. Getting bigger and bigger, just say no to a project that either doesn't fit in with your priority or doesn't fit in with the business's priority. Again, you're separating the decision from the relationship that you have with that person, and you're setting your own boundaries. In short, if it isn't hell yes, it's no. That's what I have been living. That has been my philosophy for the last 1.5 years, and it's reaped big benefits. I have really pushed my efforts into that priority, that one big thing. And it has reaped huge benefits. I've gotten a fantastic new job by saying no to a lot of presentations on a lot of different topics, by focusing on a couple of different things. I've gotten to do my first conference keynote this year. I have missed a few fun runs or bike rides with my friends, but I'm also, training for this ultra marathon. I mean, I just ran a half marathon in Yellowstone, and it was amazing. But it's all because I've learned that it has to be a hell yes. It has to be something I am truly excited about. It has to be something I'm passionate about. It has to be something that fits in that priority, or I say no, one way or another. A friend said this to me about the same topic recently. He said, that reminds me that it's okay to be selfish. And it is, to a certain extent. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to take care of yourself and your family first. You don't have to say yes to everything. So by following those steps, we are able to go from being busy to being bored. So remember your homework. Go through and identify what you're doing in all aspects of your life. Then sit down and think about what you actually want to be doing. Out of all of those things you want to be doing, for each of your categories, pick a priority, right? Pick that one thing to go big or to go home on. Now, you've got to start narrowing things down, right? So we quit some of the things that don't fit our priorities. And we learn to say no gracefully and thoughtfully, but continually. And here's the thing. Your priority may change, right? It could change next month. It could change next year. That's fine. Change is good. Change helps us grow. We might change jobs. We may decide, you want to take the Microsoft professional degree program in data science and move on towards that. That's fine. If your priority changes, let it change, but then move everything into that new priority. If you're looking for some additional information, again, I highly recommend this book, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I think it's been one of the most helpful in my life over the last couple of years. And if you have other questions, you want to talk about this, or you even just have stories to share with me, I'd love to hear them. You can go ahead and email me. There's my email address. You can go ahead and contact me on Twitter. I'm almost always on Twitter. And that is how I have gone from being busy to being bored. I hope these tips and techniques will help you realize it's okay to be bored and not busy. With that, Ree, do we have any other questions?
I was muted. So at this point, we don't. I've gotten a lot of comments and feedback about, oh, that's me. I do that all the time. And I found myself doing that, and you probably weren't through the first 3 slides, where I was like,
okay,
that's me. And then as I'm sitting here watching your webinar, I am answering a work email and working on a slide deck that I am doing for a Women in Tech event in Atlanta next week, and of course running the webinar. And I was like, but to echo your advice, I had a friend of mine tell me about 5 years ago, because I felt like my life was spinning plates on those sticks, the guy at the
Yeah. I should add that into this presentation.
He said to me, it's okay to ask somebody else to spin that plate. And I said,
yes,
but if they don't, then it will crash to the ground. And then it probably wasn't that important to either one of you. You have to learn to tell people no. And so she was there with me. And at the time, I was a full-time DBA, a mom, obviously, ran my daughter's elementary school PTA and did contract work on the side and took dance classes and all this other stuff. And so we're at this PTA meeting, and this woman has this wonderful idea, and she wants me to do it. And I looked at her and said, that sounds like a great idea, but I'm going to have to say no. Thanks for asking me. No. And she starts badgering me. And because I never tell anybody no. I never tell anybody no. And I was like, honestly, Lisa, I have to say no. And luckily my friend was there at the meeting with me. And she is usually the sweet, kind, gentle one where I kick doors in. She looked at this woman and said, she said no. Stop. And I was like, oh, wow. And so I've gotten better and better at it. And it comes and goes. It's, I find myself buried under something and I go, oh, I'm doing it again. But to comment about your presentation, I even loved the simplicity of every slide.
Well, thank you.
It took a couple of slides in. I was like, oh, even the screen is not too busy.
Even the slides are not busy. It's something to work towards, right? And none of us are perfect at it, but we'll get there with practice.
Absolutely. So before I end the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my screen really quickly. Just because the broadcast missed our whole sponsor slide, and that it is, in fact, important to us. Century One sponsors the WIT session every month. It's my understanding they're going to do this again next year, and they give away an Amazon gift card of $50 every session. So I have picked one of you, and I'll be going through these right now. Oh, I do have one other question if you have a minute to answer it.
All right. Let's, if you can email it to me, that would be great. As we mentioned, I have to go because I have to get to the airport.
You do?
But feel free to, Yes, so I'm going to drop off. Again, thank you to everyone that attended. I hope this was useful. Please contact me with questions or thoughts or stories. I'd love to hear it. Bree, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to drop off so I can make my flight. Please email me the questions and I'll get back to it later.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are still on here, first of all, thank you very, very much for attending. We really appreciate it. The question that was asked if she's still here is, how do you handle Twitter so you don't spend too much time on Twitter? Email that to Jess. I would find it entertaining if she tweeted her answer back to you. I actually probably let Twitter suck up too much of my day. I use TweetDeck. So because I manage my session, or I manage my profile and Pass Wit and SQL Saturday Atlanta, because I'm getting bad at saying no to people again as well. So, oh, and somebody just pointed out to me that Jess did a good job of telling me no when I asked her about one more question. And honestly, of course she did. So I will be in touch with the winner soon. Someone did just ask me if the recording would be made available. Absolutely. We record all of these sessions. It should be uploaded to the Pass Wit YouTube page by the end of the day. And thank you all very, very much for attending. We're glad you were here today.